What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to Nintendo Open Air Podcast. This week we have new president Shintaro Furukawa in the limelight, as it were. We're going in depth with a financial results briefing Q&A, which features some great on-point questions from investors. Questions shared not only by business investors, but by fan investors as well. Because let's be honest, at this point, we should all have a share in Nintendo by now, right? So close that Forbes webpage, which you only look at for financial insight, and join in as we respond to President Furukawa's answers and pose a few questions of our own. All right, so once again this week, we will have the PDF on screen. So if you don't normally watch on YouTube or check us out live on Twitch, then it might be a good time to switch over, as it were. So as this was quite a lengthy Q&A, we'll be touching on what we thought were the highlights, but of course we'll also have a link to the full PDF down in the description on our YouTube video, so if you want to read through it all later, go ahead and check it out. All right. So starting out here, I'm going to pop it up on the screen for us right quick. And we're just going to start with the first question here. So, from the investor holiday season, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will be releasing soon. It is necessary to sell to those who did not buy Nintendo Switch despite a strong software lineup last year. With what kind of user base do you envision popularizing Nintendo Switch? And could you talk about the current user demographics for Nintendo Switch and how you see the user base expanding? How do you evaluate a status on pre-orders that have started for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? All right, we got quite a lengthy answer here.
We don't.
That's the short answer. Yeah.
Do you have a strategy? It's already in our marketing.
Did I mention you could play at any time, anywhere, with anyone in quotation marks, and share the joy?
Shareable Joy-Con?
Yeah.
We have a full lineup of games for this holiday season, including the only three worth mentioning. Right?
The only three worth mentioning. It's the only three, period.
Yeah, it's pretty much. I mean, at least from them. Yeah, it's the same. And we talked about this, I know, before we did the cast, and a lot of these are just the same BS answers we've gotten, you know, from the get-go, as far as just they're the kind of salesman, you know, no answer.
I think.
You know, new experiences, you know,
blah, 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 blah,
appealing to people who've played Nintendo games in the past, right? The same old BS.
You know who should be an investor? Dr. Phil. So he could raise his hand and go, well, what were you thinking? Whatever, I'm sure he's got a great answer. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, they want to encourage. Well, I mean, he even goes into that we want to encourage people that already have it in his answer. Like, how are you going to bring in the new people? Well, by encouraging people who already own it to continue to play with add-on content.
Yeah, because that spreads like a disease.
Yeah, I think if they really do want to pick up those lapsed gamers that we've talked about in the past, we saw with the Wii that the Virtual Console did help, and they really should probably be doing some marketing for their online service that talks up that part of it, I think.
And the other thing is, like, they made their big boom for lapsed gamers with Zelda and Mario, right?
Yeah.
Maybe some here with Smash and Pokemon, but really, and Mario Kart, but right, that was the first 6 months, was get back the lapsed gamers, because that was the whole premise of the Switch, right? Get back the people who didn't buy the Wii U. So, like, people who I don't know, they're getting more and more niche, right? People who weren't on board for Zelda, Mario, and Mario Kart, now that's the second string, Pokemon and Smash Brothers. Like, you know what I mean? They're not going to get as many as they did the first go around. Right? There's always going to be somebody who's waiting for the next Smash.
Yeah, and Animal Crossing will bring people when that eventually comes, too.
Yeah, it's just they've got to roll out all of their must-have titles, and they've got to be good entries. That's the thing. They can't just roll out yet another Animal Crossing. It's got to be, you know what I mean? The 3DS one was cool. It was a relatively major upgrade over previous entries, but now there needs to be at least that big of an upgrade to this, on the Switch version. They can't just tweak it and roll it out on Switch, because I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. Go ahead, Mo.
Maybe they'll roll out Animal Crossing for babies like Pokemon Let's Go. Like, this is an entry point for Animal Crossing. Well, I guess that's kind of what Happy Home Designer was. Sort of.
Yeah, I suppose.
That was more like a spinoff than an entry point. I think Animal Crossing itself is an entry point at any given time. You can start fresh, not knowing anything about the game, and play, and then you can make it as deep as you want to make it.
Yeah. I started with New Leaf, and it was plenty compelling, as Reggie would say, for me.
But they hit all the talking points, right? They hit their Labo. They hit their big games. They hit their... Oh, go ahead.
I thought the Labo comment was great. He says, finally, it is important that we communicate the appeal of Nintendo Switch to people who seldom play games. So how are they going to do that? Regarding our approach to consumers who do not normally play games, with Nintendo Labo being one of the ways to play. What?
Like, I'd love to build this cardboard crap. Oh, but I need a $300 system to do it. I guess I'll go buy the system.
Well, they also say Nintendo Labo being one of the ways.
Yeah.
What the hell else other ways are there? How else are you reaching out to people who don't normally play games? 1-2 Switch, I guess, is the other.
Hulu and YouTube.
Oh. Yeah. Any word on anything else, man? YouTube's nice. Don't get me wrong, but where the hell is the floodgates?
Netflix?
Like the Netflix and the HBO and all this shit that we kept hearing rumors about. We were hearing rumors about Crunchyroll and MLB.com and God knows what else. And again, smaller sites that were all over the Switch on launch because it was the big buzz. Now it's like, okay, well, it's been out a year and a half. That buzz has gone. So I think a lot of those, like, you know what I mean? If they had opened this up a year ago, we would have 100 streaming options on the Switch right now, and now we're probably going to get a total of 20, if that. Yeah, because like
we still got those comic book apps coming sometime.
Oh yeah, ooh yeah.
That'll broaden the user base. He does say in here, part of broadening the user base is that they have not yet fully communicated the appeal of the system to consumers. So it's important that they adequately convey the unique capabilities and appeal of the Switch.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
They haven't got the message. The message hasn't been clear enough about what this thing can do. Once people realize it's a handheld and a console, it's going to sell like gangbusters.
Yeah.
They just haven't got that message out yet.
And the very next line there, likewise, there are people out there who play video games but have never bought a Nintendo system. I like how he's telling this investor that, like, believe it or not, there are other video game systems and people have never bought Nintendo systems. Yeah.
We tell them you can play a lower quality version of the games you already own. But while
more titles, including ones from other software publishers. Ooh.
Yeah.
But then he's like, oh, other sub-publishers. And he's like, well, more than on previous platforms.
Than on previous, yeah. Exactly. Note that. It's they still have to qualify and caveat that. It's right, well, we've got more than Wii U did, basically, is all they can say. But it's still a pretty pathetic lineup, and everybody knows it at this point. I mean, it's like we'll get to my favorite question in a bit.
Yeah,
which relates to that.
All these questions are, I have to say, are pretty spot on. I know
the answers are BS, but yeah.
And last week we covered kind of the financial thing, but this is the question and answer that's now
Right.
just recently been translated to English, so we can enjoy
That's right.
all
If you're
all
wondering,
the investors trying to pin them.
yeah. I know last week we were talking about this. I don't remember if we specifically mentioned it while we were live, but I know we said, the people there, the investors, do you think they even have a clue what's going on? And then it's like, you start seeing this and it's like, yep, they're thinking all the same things we are. They're reading all the same theories and sources that we are.
And what would be really helpful with this text is a screenshot of the guy's face while this question's being answered.
Yes.
Rolling his eyes, throwing up in his briefcase. Oh.
Yeah, I would like to see their expression as they answer.
Yeah.
All right, well, some of these questions now are going to have much shorter answers, like our second question here. All right, multiple titles like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that were released before or during the last fiscal year have sold over 1 million units in the first half of this fiscal year alone. What factors do you find contribute to such strong sales for titles released before or during the last fiscal year? Also, some companies keep their unit sales up by lowering the price of older software titles. What is your pricing strategy?
Ha 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 ha. Oh.
That's exactly what he says. Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, this is the kind of question that Hannity asked Trump. It's like, oh, your titles, they've sold millions. Oh, what are you going to do to follow that up?
What's your pricing strategy? Well, we started at $60 and we keep it at $60. And after a couple years, they realize the price isn't going down, so they buy it at $60.
And then once we stop producing them, the price will go up.
Yeah. Yeah, then we just discontinue the product and people buy it on eBay for more money than $60.
And again,
that happened with Pikmin 3. For the longest time, Pikmin 3 was a rare title on the Wii U because they just didn't sell enough of it physically, so they just stopped producing it physically until it became a bestseller.
Yeah, that was one I got for free for buying Mario Kart 8.
So did I. But a lot of people sold their copies on eBay for some bucks at the time.
Wow.
But he doesn't laugh at them. Oh.
No. But he does mention here the key to it is to continue to incorporate add-on content and other factors that will keep these titles in the spotlight, which is this thing they've been preaching for months now. The reason we're going to continue to sell these same 3 or 4 games is because we're going to keep adding stuff to them.
Well, but they haven't. There was 2 DLC drops for Zelda during the first year.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Kart 8, they added Labo support. Ooh. Super Mario, they added the Balloon World, relatively shortly after launch. And I don't know that they've touched that since, right? Well, they do add suits and stuff. They still keep doing that. Zelda, I don't think they've touched in a while, but that doesn't really count. That's considered just par for the course these days, that you'll drop a new outfit or something, some small cosmetic thing to get people back in the game. That's just standard practice these days.
But
go ahead.
Well, what he's saying here is that we'll keep these titles in the spotlight. Does a new costume in Super Mario Odyssey keep that game in the spotlight?
Exactly.
Someone's going to say,
I wasn't going to buy
it,
but now that I can be a zombie, maybe I will have to buy a whole $300 system in a $60 game.
Yeah, no, if they were releasing new levels, if they were releasing, like Splatoon, I would say falls into that category with new stages, new weapons. They did a good job with Splatoon. They keep it fresh, no pun intended. But they've really kind of half-assed that same process with Mario and Zelda, right? Mm-hmm. Zelda, every so often you could, get some meat or something.
Apples. I remember the first one was apples.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was who cares? Or the Mario suits is cool. For somebody like Mo, who's just total, end game in it, that stuff's cool, but that's not, not selling them copies.
They keep
Yeah, at some
releasing so
point.
many that like I'm just
Yeah.
like I don't care anymore. I can get them at some point, but I like his last line that they take the value of software very seriously, and what they want with their evergreen titles is to maintain their value as long as possible without lowering the price. But I don't think they understand that, when someone's looking at buying a system for Zelda and they say, well, the system's $300, and then now I got to buy a $60 game on top of it, I'm almost up to 400 already. Whereas if they just would pack it in, or something else, at some point software has a pack-in title supposed to act as a gateway drug. So at some point you got to get them to buy the Switch.
It'll
So
happen.
yeah,
It,
it'll happen in
once
three
they don't,
years when they
I
become
think.
Nintendo Selects.
Well, I think it'll happen is it'll happen after they don't hit their 20 million mark.
Yeah.
I think we'll start seeing better bundles, better deal bundles where the game is actually free as opposed to full price.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We do have bundles out now for a lot of games, and like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but you're still basically paying for the game. And then I love the ones that come with free games, like the Fortnite bundle that comes with a game you can download for free.
Yeah. Well, they are doing the Black Friday thing where Mario Kart 8 is going to be bundled and it'll be basically free, which is good, I guess.
I hadn't really perused the Black Friday stuff. Is that a download or a physical? Do you know?
Probably download, I'd imagine. Everything seems to be these days.
Yeah, which is fine. I only bought cartridges because of the discount, and it's a pain in the ass when the kids are like, okay, we want to play this now. All right, I'll get the
as long as
cartridge.
people understand that any download is going to take like 25% of your hard drive space.
Well, unless you get an SD card, but
yeah,
but
which
that's
is easy enough
right
to do.
there. It's easy enough to do, but right there is if you want a sizable one, that's the cost of a game. I mean,
right.
not quite, but like 128 gig at launch was the cost of a game. Just about. Those were like $50. Now they're like 25, 20, or 30, but still, that's an extra expense. Doesn't come with the system, and if you want to download something like say Doom, it's a requirement. So it's like, oh, I got to pay. I'll pay $60 for Doom, and then I'll pay $30 for the SD card to put Doom on.
Yeah, if you know someone out there that's buying someone a Switch for Christmas, suggest just like you needed batteries for toys back in the days, you need an SD card for the Switch.
And don't half-ass it. If it's less than 64, it's not worth the trouble.
Yeah. Or suggest they get a PS4 instead.
Don't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, PS4 is $200 this Black Friday.
We may be bitter at it is really?
Yep.
We may be bitter at Nintendo.
Yeah. I have to admit that is slightly tempting.
Oh, and it comes with one of their most critically acclaimed brand new games.
Yep.
It's almost like they're trying to sell PlayStation 4s.
It is almost like they're trying to sell them.
Dude, yeah, I might this is exactly why I hadn't browsed the ads. I'm far more interested in a $200 PlayStation 4 than a $100 PlayStation Classic.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
But then, I mean, I don't know if this was on our topic list or not, but the Black Friday offerings from Nintendo are pretty crap, as they always are.
See, I thought they were too. I know a couple of people I've mentioned them to are kind of like, oh, this looks like good stuff.
Well, stores might, I always kind of hope stores will do something special, but they don't ever seem to really have done much special in the past. Like sometimes they'll knock $10 off a game here and there, but like Nintendo's made a commercial that was released to the day that we're recording this, showing like their big things, and it's a Mario Kart 8 bundle for $300. So yeah, you're saving 60 there. Their Mario Maker 2DS, it's the old brick 2DS in yellow and red, McDonald's colors. And I don't know that software is going to appeal to the age range that would want that brick 2DS. But maybe they're just hoping someone will just pick it up on a whim and be like, I don't have a 3DS, whatever.
Yeah, that is a good point. Super Mario Maker is complicated for the audience they're now targeting the 2DS at.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, though, if I remember correctly, the 3DS or 2DS version of Super Mario Maker does not allow you to create levels, only play levels, right?
No, it doesn't allow
you
you
can
to
create
share
them.
anything.
You can't share them with other people. Yeah,
Oh,
you can't
okay.
play. You can't play other. I couldn't play your level unless we Street Passed. You can only share levels through Street Pass because that's a great idea. But whatever, it's dead anyway. And then their third huge deal that they touted and felt like they needed to have in the commercial is they're going to be selling those Joy-Con steering wheel for Mario Kart 8, 2 for $15, which he said he thought was probably the regular price.
I'm pretty sure I'll have to go back through my orders, but I'm pretty sure that's what I paid.
That sounds right.
They were less. They were definitely less than 20.
It's like I wasn't gonna get a Switch, but now that I can get 2 of these steering wheels for 15, I guess I'm gonna go buy the system.
And in all honesty, I really think they were like $12.99, not 15, but I might be wrong.
Well, you got to realize they're going to have these things together, so maybe someone buying Mario Kart 8, Switch bundle, they're like, hey, why don't you get the wheels for that? And they're like, oh, okay. That's just $15.
By the way, have you guys seen the wheels? Because I did pick them up.
I think I have.
They scale to the Joy-Con appropriately.
Yeah, so they're tiny.
They're tiny. They're like they could have made them the size of a Wii wheel, and you slap the Joy-Con in the middle, but they didn't.
But they're perfect for small hands.
They're like, you know what I mean? They're about as big around as a coffee mug. I mean, they work and everything, but it's like, I don't know. They're more awkward to use than the Wii ones were.
Maybe they're designed for one-handed performance, like
maybe
so much of Nintendo stuff these days. That way you can play Mario Run with your other hand.
That's a deep reference there.
Yeah,
I think Nintendo assumes you're doing something else with your other hand.
Yeah,
when you're playing their products. So
you're on social media talking about it. How amazing this is!
All
right,
we are right now.
Question 3. Is
no.
there any... That's a great answer. Is there any possibility you would make Nintendo titles like Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers available to cross-platform or cross-device play, like Fortnite Battle Royale has done?
Well, and they don't really answer the question as far as cross-device. Like, right? Remember the original plan for Smash Brothers on 3DS and Wii U was that it was going to be cross-play compatible, and they decided, kind of late in development that just wasn't going to happen. They announced. So I think they sidestepped that question because I think they should, right? I think they should enable cross-play between Mario Kart Deluxe and Mario Kart Wii U. That would be a big deal, I think, for a lot of people like you, Jason. We could all play Mario Kart again. Not you, Mo. Or wait, did you buy it for Switch, Mo?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so you're back on the Mario Kart train. So right, if they enable cross, there shouldn't be any technical reason they can't. Right? It's a port. It's the same general game. The network stuff works the same way. There's no logical reason they couldn't make it work with relatively minimal effort.
You're talking about with Wii U?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wouldn't incentivize people to buy a Switch then if they already had it on Wii U.
At a certain point, it might. At a certain point, right? We would play more Mario Kart if we could play with Jason and whoever else didn't get on the Switch bandwagon with Mario Kart.
But let me phrase that though. Who is still playing the Wii U who did not buy a Switch?
Well, is yours still hooked up?
Yeah, but I haven't turned it on. And
if we all did a Mario Kart night, would you dust it off? And
I guess
totally
so.
would.
Yeah.
See?
But they're not trying to get people to dust off their Wii U's.
Yeah, I know.
That's
But right from the social perspective, it's a fragmented user base, and at some
Yeah.
point, it seems like it would make more sense to them to, add those people to the user base, those handful of people who only have the Wii U version that, would still play, like Jason.
But Furukawa basically just says, no. We have absolutely no plans to offer any Nintendo game as cross-platform titles at this time.
But to me, that answer is, are you ever going to, to me, he's answering a different question. To me, he's answering the, are you ever going to put Mario on PlayStation question.
I like that he says if publishers want to release cross-platform titles and doing so would make consumers happy, then as long as it's technically feasible, we'll support them. That said, we don't give a fuck how happy you'd be if we put Mario Kart or Smash on something. We have absolutely no plans. Next. Which that's always going to be. I mean, that's all Nintendo really has at this point. Like, as cool as everybody thought the Switch was, if they were like, and also all these same games will be released the same day for PlayStation 4, Nintendo would have been dead in the water.
Yep.
I mean, what if these games had come out? What if they said Splatoon's going to be cross-platform with PlayStation 4, which is $200 and includes Spider-Man? You'd be like, well, maybe I'll pick it up for PS4 then.
Oh yeah, Nintendo knows that their only the only thing that they absolutely have a lock on is their exclusive IPs.
Yeah.
Nintendo, and right, we know Nintendo will never ever give up Zelda. I mean, Mario on a smartphone, to me, Mario Maker is them giving up on Mario. Right? It's them saying Mario side-scrolling 2D Mario is done. We're over it.
Yeah.
Here, make your own.
But then they put one out on Switch. They're putting the Wii U one out on Switch.
Well, yeah, that's an aberration because they know they can make money off it.
I still expected Mario Maker to come to Switch before that one did, but
I kind of did too. But now we absolutely know Mario Maker's coming to Switch. They'll try to give it every bit as much fanfare as they did on every previous release, as if it's brand new. Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
I think we'll get a new one. I think we'll get
Mario
a
Maker?
Mario Maker 2.
Maker Deluxe?
Something. I think.
We'll get a deluxe. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a fancier. It'll have been long enough.
Super Mario 3D Maker.
No, never. But what was missing from Deluxe? Super Mario 2 was missing. Or I'm sorry, from Super Mario Maker. Yeah. Super Mario 2 was missing from Super Mario Maker. Is that really the only?
I think so.
That was really the only one people noticed.
For example,
Super Mario Land would be cool too. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I was just moving on to the next question.
All
right. Could you tell us about your unique management strategy as president? For example, should we expect you to announce any medium-term business plans or to provide any shareholder returns? I like that. Provide any shareholder returns, including a stock split. Should we expect you to spend money in new ways, for instance, by setting up a venture fund? And he just basically says Nintendo's slogan right back to them. We want Nintendo to continue to be an entertainment company to bring smiles to people's faces.
He's like, what does stock split mean? I'm all about making games and having fun. And making theme parks and movies. Opening up pillars of revenue.
That's right.
Yeah, these generic BS comments again.
Yeah.
But I think the last line right there is kind of the seal for his current presidency, which is, I do not anticipate any major changes from our current approach at this time. And I think that is true not only to the financial end, but in general. I don't think he's planning to do anything new. Which is disappointing.
Rolling with it.
Yeah.
We'll do what we always do. We'll just see what happens.
As long as they're steady state right? They're happy. They're making money. They're not booming, but they're just rolling. As long as they stay that way, they ain't going to change a thing. As soon as things start sliding again, that's when they'll start mixing it up.
Yeah.
All right, so next question is kind of a follow-up here. I wanted to confirm your sales strategy for Nintendo Switch, including the strategy for the next fiscal year. No major titles were released between January and September of this year, and
Boom, got him.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. And while I understand you are concentrating on the release of major titles between October and December, I wonder if this was the correct strategy for the period you need to grow the audience for Nintendo
That guy's
Switch.
been listening to our podcast.
He is. I think is this one of you guys, or
Yeah.
are you secretly an investor?
But good sir, have you forgotten about Kirby and tennis? Oh. He doesn't even throw that at him.
No.
He's
No,
just
he
like,
doesn't.
you're right, we fucking got nothing this year.
Yeah, if you compare this year to last year, we are still releasing new titles. But each title's sales volume is at a smaller scale than last year. So we're still selling stuff, but people just aren't buying it.
Yeah. We've
But
scaled down our sales.
We complained about this for 9 months.
Yeah.
Like
from January to September.
Like it seems to be this is what's going to happen again. Here's all our big titles around Christmas. Dick all the rest of the year. Maybe something around summer.
Yeah. Which is basically what he said. Like it seems you're only releasing stuff in October through December. Yeah.
It doesn't just seem like it.
No.
Yeah, and then they just it's a non-answer. We will talk about those at a later time. So piss off.
You got to make use of a variety of different methods to fill any gaps between the times we have major title releases.
See, but that wasn't supposed to be the problem. They were supposed to be third parties to fill in the gaps. But there were supposed to be third parties to fill in the gaps between the times we have major title releases, but they're not there. So what do you got? You got shitloads of crappy indie games.
And that's a scary thing. Like I said, I really expected Grand Theft Auto to come out this year. I expected a bunch of titles that you've heard of that were last gen to come out, and we've gotten some of those with Dark Souls and Diablo and stuff.
But the second string, second string, like Dark Souls, okay, cool. Diablo, okay, cool. It's not Grand Theft Auto. It's not Fallout. It's not. You know what I mean? There's top tier AAA games. There's Star Wars Battlefront, right? And then there's the second line of stuff, and that's what we're getting. I mean, the only ones I can think of, we got Doom. Wolfenstein is not really a top tier AAA. That's a second line, I think. Right?
I don't know. It's a big game for the month of releases. But the thing is, PS4 and all these other and Xbox, like they expect big titles pretty much every month from somebody, and they're getting them from somebody.
Yeah.
And Wolfenstein might be like, hey, it's Wolfenstein month. You play it for a month, you're done. Next month, there's a new big title to focus on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Steam, right? And Steam gets mountains of little indie crap all the time, but it gets its share of the big AAA. Any of the big AAA multiplats end up on it. It doesn't, right? There's fewer AAA exclusives on Steam than there are on the big consoles, I think. But I mean, otherwise, right? There's every time I log into the client, it gives me like a list of new stuff, and it's big titles, and it's it's
something you've heard of.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Stuff I've heard of, stuff that's the next entry in a big franchise, whatever. It's just, but it's constant. It's there's more in a week than we get in 6 months on the Switch.
But does PlayStation have digital jigsaw puzzles?
I'm sure it's
$15.
That's the other thing. I'm sure it's got millions of them.
Good.
I mean, I see the stuff coming out on Twitter, announcements. This is coming out just today, looking through tweets. I probably saw at least 5 different games coming out on Switch. What are they? Some of it's in
Yeah.
Japanese, some of it's just a phrase or something. You have no idea what this is about.
And again,
Yeah,
if
and
it's
of
not,
indie
if it's
games, they only have what 10 or 20 that are like major, every
Yeah.
year or so, or every couple of years maybe.
yeah,
They're
there's just
not
really
all
there's a few a
Undertales
year.
and Owlboys
Yeah,
and
there's like a few a year maybe that get some big buzz that are thought of as good, high quality stuff. Just a handful a year, and same thing with AAA titles.
yeah.
But we aren't getting most of either of those. It's just I don't know. It's right. The new Fallout, nope. Fallout 76. The new whatever the new Enix thing is, I can't remember now. Like several new Enix things, just not happening over here. Although they did announce something is coming to Switch recently. One of the Final Fantasy something or others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
But
a lot of the Final Fantasy
several
stuff and
others.
others
Yeah.
don't.
A lot of them.
But I
Oh,
think
and
That's true.
Resident Evil 4 is coming. That was a GameCube title.
And the other thing is, don't get me wrong. Like, well, how are sports titles doing? Because we don't generally pay attention to those. But
I
right,
do.
that's the
We
Nintendo
got
problem.
we got another RBI that came out this year after last year's was a complete joke. Um, we've got the NBA 2K, which I guess is kind of the premier NBA game, which runs worse on this but has all the same microtransactions, and FIFA, um, which is the same thing, microtransactions all to hell. But I mean, those are two of them. We don't have Madden, which is the big one,
that's
for
really
most
surprising.
people.
Yeah.
Especially with the
Wii
start
U
of
had
football
Madden.
season and stuff.
Yeah. Um, no. I was half expecting when I saw that Nintendo of Canada produced their own holiday commercials. I was wondering if they were going to use ice hockey from the from the NES lineup to advertise it. Like, we've got a hockey game on here,
Well,
but they didn't.
in,
Luckily.
in his answer here, he says, we do that by continuing to promote the sale of titles released in the previous year, release add-on content, highlight the appeal of hardware itself, and use services like Nintendo Switch Online to keep the utilization ratio of the hardware up.
Because you know how many people are using that Nintendo Switch Online.
Well, I guess
Well,
technically,
But yeah,
they're
to
counting
answer
it.
Z's question, we do have baseball, we've got Tecmo Bowl, we've got soccer and ice hockey. So I don't know what you're
that's true.
complaining about.
That's true.
That's right.
Oh, lest I forget.
And I'm sure eventually we'll get an indie shuffleboard or some shit.
But
Indie
yeah,
job.
in relation to your point though, Jason, yeah, they just name drop Nintendo Switch Online to keep services like Nintendo Switch Online to keep the utilization ratio of the hardware up. How the fuck does that work, guys?
The only way I
here's
can
one.
spin this is that they're talking about every time someone logs into Splatoon or
Yeah.
Balloon World and Odyssey and they're playing online, they're using Nintendo Switch Online.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the thing is like Jason and I and Max, we play Fortnite every day pretty much. We
Yeah.
use our Switch our utilization is way up. Probably even more so than the average consumer of Switch at this point. However, our money spending on Switch is pretty much flat to none.
And we're not
Um,
even using Nintendo Switch Online to play Fortnite. That's separate.
no.
We're playing
Yeah.
on Epic servers. So
But it's like I think they equate utilization ratio to money. Like you're using the Switch, so maybe you'll just be like, "Hey, let's pop into the eShop and see what's there." But no, like of course we're informed enough to know that there's nothing really there.
I'll go look
We're screwed
around
for
a bit.
something. Yeah,
Maybe if it goes on sale, put it on the wish list. I can find it again.
yeah.
there's a
Which
new
I do that
demo.
too.
Go look at the demo.
But I
Delete
don't
it.
think
Yeah.
this utilization ratio. I think they're putting a really big emphasis on that, and they always have. You know,
Mhm.
like we've talked about that just in recent weeks. Like with the Wii U, they used to say, "We just want you to touch it every day. We want you to just play it every day, and that's going to lead to bigger sales and bigger things." And it's like it doesn't. You want the utilization ratio to be up because there's constantly new exciting software that people want to play. which they're not doing. But as for software release plans, we've got none.
Well, I thought this was really interesting. He says, we are currently discussing initiatives for the next fiscal year and beyond based on this fiscal year. We will talk about those at a later time. But he just got through saying a minute ago he's not planning to change anything.
Yeah, we're
So,
not planning
Yeah.
to change anything, but
still
if
discussing.
for some reason this year really does suck, we might have to put out some more games next year.
But
That
exactly,
people want to play.
they're not planning on changing anything because they were just assuming that the third parties were going to flock to the system in droves, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They just assumed, okay, we're gonna get out of the gate with this first 6-month blitz, and then come Christmas, they got some third parties, right? They got just enough around Christmas to make us think, all right, they're doing okay,
They're
right?
coming,
They got Doom, they got announcement of Wolfenstein, they got the Resident Evils, and they got Skyrim, and it looked really good. It looked pretty good anyway. And then done after Christmas, done nothing. We get delays on the only big third party title I can think of, Dark Souls, and nobody else. Wolfenstein finally came out.
They delayed these games to the point to where people just stopped caring.
Yeah.
They built the
And
hype,
then
and then it's
and
like,
then they
we'll delay
killed
it.
Telltale games on top of it.
Yeah,
One of the
well,
only-
screw Telltale
One of the only
games.
third-party publishers that was putting out games. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but right, they knew, they were certain that there was going to be this huge flood of third-party developers for that 9-month period, right? They were sure of it, and it didn't happen. And so now they're treading water, but they're saying they're not planning to change anything. So that just says to me, this is another, you know what I mean? The next 6 months to me will tell the tale. If we get nothing after Christmas again for, you know what I mean, until summer, this is the next Wii U. This is a dead console.
Well, we know in January we're getting new Super Mario Bros. So that'll.
No, third party.
Oh,
I don't give a
no.
shit what Nintendo, at this point, I don't give a shit what Nintendo puts on it.
Yeah.
If we don't have
really
third parties, it's the Wii U all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty
'Cause
sure it is.
Yeah, it's pretty,
Starting to be one.
looking, yeah, it's looking pretty much like it now. I guess I'm just giving it, me personally, I'm giving it till after Christmas, but
Yeah.
I would, if somebody wanted to just call it right now, I would call it fair, because it's,
I think the more time that passes, the less interest publishers are going to have of digging out their old, Grand Theft Autos and stuff like that, and being like, hey,
Yeah.
why don't we take this game that everyone in the world has played to death and are done playing and put it on Switch in hopes that we might move, 10,000 units, 20,000 units, whatever.
Yeah.
Not to mention the cost of having somebody like,
Work on
port
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting to be less and less viable.
I don't know. I just think back, and I think they really thought they had this great launch. And I keep thinking of, every time I think this, I think of Kimishima's face in my mind. And it's like, we come up with this great launch, and then we're good. We're good. And I think Nintendo is shocked that the Switch isn't
Yeah.
flying off the shelf still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that does seem to be their thing, is like once something does well, they're like, all right, now we just sit back and collect the check.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a success. Just forget about it for the rest of the lifetime of the system.
it's really like they said, okay, we got this whole plan for the first 6 months of the launch, and they just didn't ever think about, like, day 1 of month 7, what are we going to do? Doesn't matter. Third parties will take it from there. I think that was their mindset, because it's just like, it doesn't seem like they had any sort of plan after Christmas of last year. They just are making shit up as they go at this point.
But they would be the ones who would know whether or not third parties were coming, because they still have to work with Nintendo for that.
Yeah.
So they knew there was nothing coming. They just apparently thought, we had a hell of a year. We put out a bunch of good software, and that software is going to carry the system until Smash.
I don't think they really, I don't know when they figured out that shit wasn't coming. You know what I mean? Because it seemed like they seem pretty confident. Again, before Christmas of last year, they seemed pretty confident, and then even immediately after Christmas, Dark Souls, Wolfenstein, but then both of those got pushed way back. Right, they did drop out Bayonetta, so they had a little more to go after Christmas, it seemed like, but then their two biggest ones got delayed, and nothing else showed up. So I think it caught them at least, obviously not as much as by surprise as us, but I don't think they were quite ready for that either. Or at least, I don't know when they started getting an inkling that it wasn't going to be coming.
I don't know. I think almost from reading this, and I think we maybe are going to talk about this a little later, but I almost think from reading this, they're not distinguishing between these, 1,000-something
Indies.
games that are on the Switch and big third-party games. I think they're considering them the same thing. It's like, we've got 1,000 games.
Right, which I do too. There's
Games
no
is
difference between Yacht Club Games, who makes Shovel Knight, and Rockstar, who makes Grand Theft Auto.
I'm not even talking about that big. I'm talking about these these little companies you don't even know their names. You've never heard
Johnny in his garage.
Right.
Cracking out.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like the games is games. We got 1,000 games.
Yep.
That just quantity over quality. We've had that argument before. That's never been Nintendo's
very
mindset.
early on. Remember, this is gonna be the most curated eShop ever. We're not letting trash on this time, and it's we could open the floodgates, but we're not gonna. It's only quality titles for this system, and then like a couple months that lasted, and they're like, "Look, we've got thousands of games." They even said that on. It might have been in this. There was something where they were saying on 3DS and Switch, he's like, each system has over 1,000 titles to choose from.
Yeah, but my phone has thousands of times that.
Maybe they should put out a holiday bundle that just has like 50 of these piece of crap games from the eShop on it. Like how you buy those knockoff like Nintendo Classic type things, and it says has over 500 games on it.
Yeah,
it's like a bunch of Pong clones and Space Invader clones. They could just do that and be like, includes over 50 games, and have it have like bingo, jigsaw puzzles, and then Dave.
Do you think they count the NES games as a single game or as?
They'd probably count those as individual games. Nintendo Online includes over 20 games.
Free.
Yeah.
All right. We better roll on here.
Yeah, let's go a little deeper into this thing.
All right, skipping ahead. You explained during the presentation that over half of all people who purchase subscriptions to the Nintendo Switch Online service opted for a 12-month family or individual membership. Could you give us more details about things like the number of subscribers at launch or region and age range information about these subscribers?
No.
Of course not.
No way.
They don't even tell you their damn sales numbers. Nintendo doesn't tell you shit.
I can tell you that they are human. Does that make you feel
Mostly.
better? Yeah. It's like...
We're selling it in North America, Europe, and Japan.
Oh. And that an overwhelming majority of these people have credit cards.
So I like this line. We need to further enhance the content of the service for the subscriber base to reach a certain size.
Goddamn right you do.
So that is what we're working on, with the understanding that the time it will take to do so will be measured in years.
But we'll take your money now.
Oh.
Like that's unbelievable.
That was my favorite quote from the whole thing.
This is a year out. They remember they delayed this a year, and then a year later, give me $20. Thanks. Yeah. Piss off.
This is exactly...
Well, like he says, our focus, the thing we are focusing on is to boost the appeal of this service. We need to further enhance it to boost it. So how are we going to do that? Well, the thing that we're going to do is going to take years to do. because we're focused on boosting the appeal. Of course, in a couple of years, this is going to be really appealing.
But remember, it took them a year to come up with the news section.
That's true. But yeah, I was surprised that he was this honest about it. Like, that's bold to actually say, like, this is very important that we do this, and it's going to take multiple years for us to do this. So by the time the Switch is ready to be replaced by the next thing, we should have an okay, which is the way that they do things. You know, the Wii U, the eShop stuff. Every single time it starts out brand new, like they've never done this before. 3DS, it's like every single time they hit a reset button, and you're starting from scratch day one, and they're drip feeding you content, and then by the time it's starting to get decent, it's
they
like
pull the plug.
Yeah, it's like what was that Pokemon game with the? There was one that came out like really late on the Wii U. Like I think Switch might have already been out. I don't know if it was Coliseum or
Rumble something.
Yeah, it was one of the 64 ones. And it was like it came out on Wii U like after the Switch had already come out. It's like people probably would have bought that game a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But
they stick to their schedule. You would have thought they would have sped up that schedule with, knowing that the Wii U was dying, knowing that the Switch was coming out. You would have thought they would have started flooding the Wii U eShop with everything they got. But nope, they'll still just trickle it out like they always do. They never adjust. They stick to the program even if it kills them.
But you'll see, even though it's essentially a digital service, they're also offering controllers specifically to use with this. So that'll appeal to people. They'd be like, how do I get the right to pay? What are those, $60?
Yeah, $60.
How do I earn the right to pay $60 to Nintendo for these controllers that I can only use with this? You pay $20, and you get into the club that allows you to buy.
That allows you to pay $60. Yeah. No, it's just like, and this is the thing that's so asinine about this is how do we enhance the appeal of our online service?
I don't want to play these games with the controllers I got.
No, but how do we enhance the appeal of our online service? Offer something that has nothing whatsoever the fuck to do with an online service. Controllers that we're going to send you over the mail. What the? Are you kidding me? Dude?
We're going to sell you.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with their online service. We're going to sell you a product. That's how we're going to make our online service more appealing.
It's the way they're playing to their strength as a company.
Maybe they should put that in the corner of the box. Like put a picture of those controllers and be like, get these controllers. Ask me how.
Well, that's what they're doing with the icon.
Yeah.
That's what the Nintendo Switch Online icon is the product they're selling. That's so I still find that icon hysterical. It's like, this is all we got, folks. We're going to sell you a couple controllers. That's our the icon is 2 NES controllers.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of the special offers that just had a question mark on it.
No, but the icon for the Nintendo Switch Online service is, here's the 2 controllers that you can spend $60 for. Thank you. Have a good day. Like, it has nothing to do with anything, but it's just like there's an advertisement now on my Switch for NES controllers that I've already pre-ordered.
Good for you. I think these are going to be really hot
because I'm a sucker.
eBay crowd.
Yeah.
Those controllers,
right? I can turn around and sell them for probably $65.
Yeah, that'll be your weird item. Like, you had to mail away for it, and it only worked with the Switch. But someone will figure out how to hack them and make them work with other stuff. But
if any standard Switch controller works with like the 8-bit DOE receivers and whatever, then these should. So I pre-ordered them, making that bet.
And we see the need to develop the service beyond being merely digital in a way that plays to our strengths. What? Oh, sorry, Jason, you were saying something.
Because they actually are a hardware and software business, so they want it to switch online to be hardware and software. That makes
sense. And don't get me wrong, that is one of the things I love about Nintendo, right? Like I want that Pokeball controller. I don't want the game. I don't want anything else to do with it. But that Pokeball controller is pretty badass. Like that's the kind of stuff that I do like Nintendo for. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they need to come into the 21st fucking century. Like it's the
Maybe they
online
can
service.
rebrand the NES Classic as the NES Offline.
Which may I point out for a $10 adapter is no longer offline.
Yeah.
On Amazon, you can add Wi-Fi to the thing pretty easily. I just discovered. So what the hell you can do with the Wi-Fi, I don't really know.
Yeah.
There's not much point to putting it on. Well, I think I mentioned RetroArch has some neat, online leaderboard stuff and whatever, and you can, theoretically play online with it, but I'm not going to do that.
I'm sure you could essentially probably reprogram the thing to make it a crappy little computer.
That's pretty much. I mean, it is. It's effectively a little Linux box that just is kind of has custom software on it to run games. But otherwise, once you hack it, it's just a little portable Linux computer that you can you could theoretically plug a keyboard and mouse into and all that shit if you want. But we're getting sidetracked. Point being. Well, that is, you bring up an interesting point, Mo. What if they were to release an online enabled version of the NES Mini?
Classic.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And we talked about the Game Boy thing, right? Their patent for the little Game Boy case for your phone that could fall into this as well, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I expected them to do that or didn't expect them to, but thought they should have when the Virtual Console was so hot with the Wii. Like they could easily just put out an NES box that just allows you to buy these a la carte to this little system. But they wouldn't do that but now they could, and they could sell it that way and say, or buy a Nintendo Switch, and for $20 a year you get all these games included. Or you can buy them for $5 a piece to add on to your NES Classic Plus or Deluxe or whatever.
Here's what I would think. I would think they would sell, a Wi-Fi enabled NES Classic that if you have a Nintendo Switch Online account, you can access all the same NES Classic games that they released for the Switch on your NES Classic.
Yeah.
Right? I could see them actually trying to entice people that do not have a Switch to pay for the online service.
Yeah.
You were saying something, Jason?
I was going to say, I kind of disagree. I think that they're going to treat the mini systems, the classic systems, just like they're treating the Switch. It's been successful. Leave it alone. Yep. It's going to continue to sell. I can't see them making any further improvements add additional consoles.
Well, here's what I would see them doing, and I'm sure you'll agree, Mo, is playing with availability. Oh, it goes back in the vault for a few years.
They could.
Whatever. But I guess you're right, Jason. They do. That is their mindset. Is we put something out. It is what it is. Like when they re-released it, they could have done. There were a variety of things they could have done on the re-release to either make it less hackable, fix a few annoying things about it, whatever. They didn't. The re-release, 2 years later or a year and a half later or whatever, the NES Classic is the exact same hardware, exact same software, slightly updated firmware for one reason or another, but for all intents and purposes, they didn't touch it. And they could have very easily. They could have tweaked this or that. They just didn't. They kept it exactly the same. So I think you're right, Jason. They probably, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I just think they've invested what they can into it, and it's like, oh, it's a success. No further help needed.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of how they do everything. You're right.
Yeah.
That's how they did the Switch. We just, here's our first 6 months. Bam. All right. Kick it out the door. It's selling well. See ya. Sayonara.
All right. Speaking of things that are perhaps not doing well, we know that Nintendo Labo is a strategic product designed with a Nintendo Switch platform cycle in mind, meant to appeal to demographics that are not interested in franchise, popular series game titles. Given that objective, do you intend to focus on expanding Nintendo Labo sales next year and onward, or do you think you would continue to propose new kinds of projects? So, You may want to jump in on that.
Yeah. Let me just jump in right here. Maybe you don't understand, but Labo is a new way to play. Quotation marks. Oh no. Yeah, it's pretty much he's got all the stuff down.
Well, yeah, and he addresses the questions, but I think his answers are kind of telling.
Did he mention it makes a great gift for children? Yeah, I mean Reggie's already kind of said the official company line months ago, which is basically what he's saying here, that they expect the sales to kind of be steady.
Yeah, slow and steady, tortoise and hare sales. But to me, the last line of the question is the loaded part. Given that objective, do you intend to focus on expanding Nintendo Labo? AKA, are you going to make this profitable or are you going to kill it? And then, or do you think you would continue to propose new kinds of projects, which is what, right, exactly is Nintendo's problem, is they just keep moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, they can't tell us. They can't tell us what software is going to come out or what their plans are to release software for the next year. But like right here, he says, we've already got some. We do have a variety of new ideas besides Nintendo Labo.
Exactly. That's bad news.
Nintendo Lego.
That's generally bad news. I want them to be focused on making, getting third-party AAA titles on the Switch by any means necessary. And Labo, like at first I was like, okay, Labo's cool, whatever. That's a distraction from that. That should be their only goal right now. That should be 100% what they're focused on, is getting whatever, salvaging whatever third-party support they can. I mean, again, they've got a good system that's relatively open. It's very, it uses all the standard tools. Most people have said it's not that difficult to port to. It's just a case of power. Where the hell's Panic Button, man? Panic Button should have like a list a mile long.
Stuff. Yeah, they've said that they're working on a lot of projects. They had too many requests, so that they had to.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
And aren't they working on their own games too?
So where's their own games too? Where are the other devs like Panic Button? Come on, there's some out there. Right. They're not all incompetent. I just don't get it. Is that what it is? Are they the bottleneck? Everybody's going through Panic Button.
I think everybody wants them. They're the hot studio. There are other ones who are doing stuff, but is that buttons. Maybe that's it? So that's Nintendo's. Nintendo should use that as an excuse. Well, everybody wants to use Panic Button. They can only work on one third-party project at a time. Yeah,
takes them six months per project. So
you know what would have been awesome
for every 6 months.
If Nintendo had actually taken some of their people and dedicated their own fucking porting thing and be like, or you can go through us and for a small fee we'll port this to to the system for you. But I almost feel like people at Nintendo don't understand how to do that.
And that's business, right?
Like they talked about with the Wii U. They talked about with the Wii U, like they were like, why is it taking so long to put out these fucking games? And they would said, we've never done something in HD before, and we kind of underestimated how long it took to do that. To get their graphics up to snuff for HD. They didn't realize that, everyone else has been doing this for years, and the Wii U was our first time doing it, and we didn't realize that it was going to be this hard to do things in high quality. That was one of the quotes from the Wii U era. I remember when somebody was telling them, like, why isn't this shit coming out faster? They're like, it's taking a lot longer than we thought it was gonna.
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's your fault for being 6 years behind everybody else.
It's like Nintendo is stuck in their own world, and they know how their stuff works, but then they don't comprehend how everybody else is doing things and how to make it work with their stuff, which they should be the experts, but they're not. Because they don't
leads in.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say this, don't understand the other end. Go ahead.
It leads into the next question, which a lot of people feel like there are major titles from publishers that are missing on Nintendo Switch. Are you currently doing anything to address that?
Yeah, that's an appropriately worded question because it sure as hell doesn't look like it.
Do you think the situation's going to change in the next fiscal year? That's how I would have said it to him. But, he basically just says that we're already giving you a wide selection of software, and obviously we don't think it's realistic to expect every major title will be available. But
Yeah, no, he gives just a generic, we're getting what we're getting, and that's that. Like that's pretty much his answer, is we're getting
But
what we're getting.
he does say that they're speaking with publishers about them actively putting titles, which I don't know what the fuck that means. Actively?
But
Are
yeah,
they going to passively put a title out
yeah, I don't know.
on
Maybe
Nintendo Switch? Especially, that would especially be a good fit for the unique features of the home console that you could
yeah,
carry
that's the
around,
one. That's the
including
part
a
that worries
handheld
me.
mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that he's just like he said. Yeah, he says. I mean, he basically gives an ad pitch again, that looking for something that's a good feature for a home system that you could carry around, including handheld mode and the ability to bring systems together for local multiplayer.
You know,
Um, there's nothing was fucking developed for PlayStation or Xbox or PC years ago that's going to be old enough to run on this, that would be a great fit for the system unique features. I don't ever want to fucking hook my Switch up to somebody else's Switch. That's a pain in the ass. To have to locally find somebody else with a Switch and then have the same game. I don't give a shit
that's
about that. I want to play the
that's
same shit everyone else has been playing for years, and I want to fucking play it on my Switch. That's all.
that said, I do like those features. Right, I've got enough, of a
It's
social circle
cool.
now. We have Switch parties. Me and my friends, we actually do get 4 or 5 Switches together in one place sometimes. But
That's right.
then
Parties
none of
for
us.
hospitality.
But then, yeah, well, that's because I'd have to buy all your asses a plane ticket, and I can't afford that. But the problem is, we get all these Switches together. There's no download play for any of this shit. None of us. Like, I
Yeah.
have Mario Party. I've got 3, 4 other people with Switches. Does me no good. Nobody else has Mario Party. It's bullshit. Like, there needs to be, yeah. And I haven't looked
Well, that's
into it.
how
But
they're
right,
gonna
the
sell
3DS
Mario
had,
Party.
but right, the 3DS had a little downloadable Mario Party,
Yeah.
friend edition or whatever. Like, there needs to
Mario
be something
Kart
like that.
7 on 3DS has download play.
Yeah.
Where if a friend has just a console,
Oh, I
they can
forgot
play
about
Mario
that.
Kart 7 with you locally. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And I think there's some basic limitations or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good. There was Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4 had download play, but you could only be Ryu.
Yeah.
It's kind
In
of
fact,
weird.
Star Fox 64 for 3DS had download play. So you could do the dogfight mode,
Oh, nice.
which is really interesting because it used the inward camera so that I could see your face and you could
That's
see
that
my
inward
face.
camera again that we're
It's that
talking about.
inward camera. Yep.
I think
The
that's
inward
his style.
facing camera. Yeah, so that you could like while you were dogfighting with your friend, you could watch a really crappy digital representation of their face react to them getting blown up by you.
Instead
was
of looking
also-
up from the screen and seeing them in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since
was
it only
fun,
works
though.
through local play. Yeah.
Like, that was one of the neat things about the Wii U party games. Remember Nintendo Land? A bunch of the games had the little icon of you up in the corner of the person playing, because the premise of the game was to pass around the gamepad anyway, right? For a lot of those, so it was whoever was playing was had their little video icon on the screen because it had a
Yeah.
camera on it. I still kind of miss that on the Switch.
But
Nintendo has a lot of fun with the cameras. Sorry, go ahead.
so back to this horrible answer. He basically just says, given strong publisher support that they already have, he would expect the number of titles will increase a lot more. Well, shouldn't he know if the number of titles are going to increase a lot more?
They just
I really think all this talking about all these publishers, when he says up here, many different software publishers, he's talking
Yeah.
about all those indie studios you've never
yeah,
heard
he
of.
is. He's talking
Right.
about Overcooked, and he's talking about what
Celeste.
Chicken
Yeah.
Wiggle's already been announced for next year, so
Yep.
we're on the right
That is,
path.
yeah. I mean, and there is a certain category of gamer that plays a lot of that kind of stuff, and only
I
that kind
play
of
some
stuff.
of that, but it's like,
Yeah.
that seems to be Nintendo's focus is on indie titles. And that's just like with Wii U, because it's all they've got.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. It just depresses me whenever we do these podcasts and we talk about it. It just reminds me of how poorly Nintendo is handling this. But anyway, moving on.
Well, let's get to some optimism with question 14.
Sales of Nintendo 3DS hardware and software are both trending downward from the same period last fiscal year. Oops, yeah. You mentioned that this system has coexisted with Nintendo Switch, but I'm curious what you think about the future of the handheld video game platform business.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, they're basically saying this is the last Christmas for the 3DS and 3DS line, and it's done.
Yeah.
So
yep, it says that right there. Yeah. It'll reach its peak during this holiday season.
Yeah. I think it reached its peak a couple holiday seasons ago.
Yeah.
Does he understand what a peak means?
Yeah. Oh. They'll still sell it as long as they can get people to buy it.
Yeah, which is what his very last line is. I expect we'll continue to... I like how the fucker talks like he has no inside information on Nintendo. I expect we'll continue selling Nintendo 3DS as long as there's demand for it. But I don't know. Somebody could just walk in and be like, hey, guess what, Prez? We're not going to go ahead and pull the plug on this.
Well, people are still buying Wii U's over in Japan, so.
I expect we'll continue selling. I don't know. People don't tell me shit. But yeah, that's enough of this depression.
Don't you think that's kind of the attitude at Nintendo? They don't really know what they're going to do until they have to do it.
It probably is like that, where one system, one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. I would imagine most of the time. But the 3DS has had a good long life, and it deserves a proper burial.
It does. It's been a good system, and I know we've all put lots and lots of good hours into it.
Yeah,
I would say it had better third-party support than the Switch.
Yep.
Right. There were Metal Gear. There were all sorts of Resident Evils. We had Street Fighters. We had, and I don't mean like old Street Fighter collections. I mean the actual current Super Street Fighter 4 that was out on other consoles. Right? The 3DS definitely has gotten more either simultaneous or near simultaneous releases. In many cases, not quite the same game.
Yeah,
right?
Well, and that's what makes the 3DS like that's the ultimate success story for Nintendo stuff. Is we put out a piece of subpar hardware, and if it does well enough, people go out of their way to make a game for that. It's like we want to put out this game on your system too. We're gonna have to just basically call it the same thing and make it a 2D version of whatever the other game is we're selling, but companies had to actually produce new software for that.
But
we can't even get them to port stuff for the Switch.
It's something that's like 1/100th as complicated as a major title on a big console, though. So I
suppose so, but it still takes a certain type of talent.
Yeah, but like they've mentioned that before about how the 3DS is kind of simple to develop for because it's a simplistic system, because it can't do all that much. You can't have high res textures. You can't, the cartridge size is limited. You can only make small games for it, basically. So there's kind of an upper limit of how much budget you can really throw at it. So there's a certain logic to that. So I get that studios would do, we got a few small projects to fill in the gaps. But I don't know, like money wise, I don't know what the return is. It must be higher than it is on Switch games, because sure as fuck aren't making very many of those.
Yeah.
All right. I want to close out with one little bit of news tidbit here. We have mentioned it earlier in the podcast. YouTube app is finally out on the Switch, and I think we've all put a little time into it. We did have one major complaint that's been coming out: people experiencing problems in handheld mode, and that's for videos playing 60 frames per second have been dropping quite a bit, and I did experience that watching a Fortnite replay. So Have you guys had any problems watching anything? I guess most of you probably do not watch it handheld.
I've been
I
watching it docked, and it's been fine.
I actually had been watching it primarily handheld, and wandering around the house. I was watching because right with movies anywhere, I was watching like my Voodoo movies on it. Then yeah, they looked fine to me as long as I had decent Wi-Fi signal. Everything seemed okay.
Yeah, I mean the user interface for it could be a little bit better. It's
Yeah.
actually better in
Yes.
handheld mode than it is in docked.
Because touchscreen.
Um,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
because the touch screen. Yeah,
full
because
touch
it's like you
controls. I was
want to
kind
you
of
want to fast
surprised.
forward to a section or something like that on with a controller. It's a little bit wonky and like skipping ads and stuff like that. Whereas in handheld, it's just like basically using it on your phone. But yeah, it's got a lot of the features. Like I said, I mean, some of the features like casting was one thing I looked into that I initially overlooked and thought wasn't there, and it is there. Which it's kind of worthless, but it's like like I've got say my daughter's watching a movie on my phone, and then we come home, and I just want to pop it up on the TV. I can cast it from my phone to the Switch, and boom, it's just on the Switch, so it's on the TV. So like little things like that that are just
By the way, I never knew about that feature until you mentioned it the other day.
yeah. The Wii U had
That's
it.
kind of a neat. Yeah, that's kind of a neat little
Um,
feature.
So it's limited in when you'll use it or whatever, and there is a little bit of a delay in the time it takes from the time that you tell it to go there for it to actually load it up and do everything.
But it
Yeah,
makes it a castable device, which
yeah.
is cool.
So hopefully
I think-
it's a sign of things to come. It was really weird. I thought that Nintendo of America didn't even send out a tweet or anything about it until a day
Yeah.
after it had already been on the system. Nintendo Europe did.
Yeah, if you check out our at Nintendo Open Air podcast on Twitter, you'll find out that I retweeted the Nintendo of Europe account instead of Nintendo of America. There was nothing mentioned for a while, so weird stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like to me, YouTube coming to Switch is a big deal.
Yeah.
It is.
But for them, it's no big deal. It's like, oh yeah, and I guess we added this thing that people have been bitching about, since the beginning.
Yep.
Of course, it doesn't
Yeah.
really make very much or any money for them.
But still,
Yeah.
while they aren't talking about it, if they can talk about Kirby for 3 months, why can't they talk about this?
I bet you they throw that bitch on a box though. They'll have a little YouTube logo on that box eventually.
Yep, probably.
Yeah. Well, they keep
Although
saying
just
they,
Hulu and YouTube isn't very impressive. Sorry.
they keep saying they want people to use their Switch every day. This
Yeah.
is how you get them to use it every day with YouTube.
Except for the fact that most people are already used to using something else, their Fire Stick or their Roku or their whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Most people aren't just going to switch to the new console. All of that said,
Well-
though, as a tablet, the handheld mode is what makes that.
Yeah.
Although, as an example of how they can get people, I was playing Fortnite the other night. When I finished playing, Mo mentioned something about YouTube or something. I was like, oh yeah, I could just open that up here on the Switch.
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah, and I mean, I used to use the Wii U all the time. I actually had the little Wii U stand, like not the charging stand, but the other little crappy stand they had for it. I used to keep that in my kitchen so that when I was cooking, I could take the Wii U's gamepad and stick it out there,
Keep watching
and keep watching
yeah.
my Netflix and stuff, and then go back in the other room and pop it back up on the TV. So it's like the Switch can do that, at least with YouTube. I'm sure eventually Netflix will come. But that is what makes the Switch kind of handy, is if you are watching it on a TV like that, you can say, oh, I gotta cook dinner, or I gotta check dinner in the oven. I can just set this on the counter, keep watching it, whatever, do my thing, go to the bathroom, whatever.
And they
come back,
nailed
pop
it.
back on.
Like it is actually, because there's many other ways to do that, but it might be the most convenient way, right? It's a little more convenient than switching from your Chromecast to your tablet or whatever, other ways that you can pick up the same movie.
Because it's
So
flawless.
it works.
You pick it up out of the
And
dock,
it
it's just
is,
there.
yeah.
So, Yeah, that makes it nice. I'm glad it came. It's a big milestone we've been bitching about forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now
Nice
just
to come-
everything else. I just want everything
Yeah.
else.
Oh, and there was a little eShop update where you can search by more things now too. So
Yeah, that mentioned it was like covered by, these news sites. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. It's not a lot, but
yeah,
something.
Nintendo makes their progress very small in a amount of time that can only be measured in years.
Yeah, baby
So-
steps.
So maybe.
I did think, speaking about the eShop update, one of the search features I thought was pretty clever. Of course, it has basic things like product type, price range, genre, on sale, yada yada. But it also has one for supports online play via Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch Online.
Like, what can I play that I have to pay for?
Yeah,
Why
not? Why not a checkbox that says supports online play without Nintendo Switch
Yeah.
Online?
I would think people would be more interested in that one.
Yeah,
Um,
but obviously.
Obviously not. And there was one other small reason that we wanted to bring up YouTube on Switch, and that is, of course, we record here on YouTube, so if you want to watch or listen in to Nintendo Open Air Podcast, you can do it on your Switch. It's your worst nightmare. We're on your Switch now. So there's no excuse.
Not on Twitch, unfortunately.
Not on Twitch yet.
It'd be nice if there were a Twitch app to at least let you watch stuff, since obviously there won't be one.
I
to
would
let you
imagine
stream.
when Twitch does finally hit Nintendo Switch, you still won't be able to stream. But
Yeah, it'll be view
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
It'll be a Twitch player.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, it won't
Which
even
is
be.
fine.
You won't even be able to
I-
watch live Twitch. You'll only be able to watch Twitch videos.
I used to shittily watch Twitch on my Wii U through the web browser, and it was just slow and laggy as hell.
I could imagine.
But
Yeah.
Whereas
But
YouTube on the
someday-
web browser was pretty good.
yeah, YouTube was fine
Better
on
than
there.
the app.
Yeah, I used it because it was quicker to get to. But if I remember right, the YouTube on Wii U, I don't think I could watch my movies on. It would say that it wasn't like HDCP compliant or something like that, or there was something where it would allow me to watch trailers for the movies that I had already owned, but it wouldn't actually let me watch the movies. And this one has no trouble. I can pull up
Okay,
all the
randomly,
movies and everything.
when just a week or two ago, when you had pointed out that feature of that I didn't know about, I was like, oh, the Wii U could do that. So I went and fired up YouTube on the Wii U. I was able to watch one of my movies.
Oh, were you? Okay. So maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
or maybe something changed. It could have been something weird with the account thing. There may have been an update. Oh, in fact, yeah, when I did fire up YouTube, I mean, God knows it's probably the first time I fired it up in 2 years.
Yeah.
But when I fired it up, there was an update, so maybe they fixed it. Maybe it was broken when you tried it. But yeah, I was able to watch. I was watching Clash of the Titans, the old one.
I watched The Martian
Oh yes.
and The Dark Knight Rises.
Did you
Like-
pick those up for $2, or did you?
Which ones?
Or you had the card for those, or?
I already had.
those on
Yeah,
your account?
I had already had those.
Okay.
Yeah, like Dark Knight Rises, not The Martian. That I picked up on the Movies Anywhere deal.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That was why I passed on that one, because I had already paid my $2 for that.
Yeah.
I guess we should clue in our listeners here. If you don't know about this, not that we're trying to plug them, but you can technically watch it on your Switch now.
Yeah.
Movies Anywhere has a great feature to where if you connect accounts to it, ever so often they have a promotion and they give you a handful of movies for free. And recently,
Yeah.
one of the free movies was The Martian.
And what makes
is a
Movies
great movie.
Anywhere so great for the
Good movie, yeah.
Switch is that it integrates. So if you had bought a movie on Google and a movie on Amazon, it puts them all in one place and shares them with everything. So since YouTube is part of that, any movie you've bought on Amazon or Google or
Voodoo,
Voodoo.
iTunes.
Yeah, iTunes.
iTunes, yep.
You can now watch all that crap on your Switch through the YouTube app.
Most
which
of
is
it, right?
Easily, yeah,
Star
most
Trek
of it.
movies. Star Trek
Oh.
movies are the one big one because Paramount doesn't play ball.
Right.
So they're the only one that's really the like. There's one or two other movies here and there that I don't have, but the Star Treks
I
are the
wonder if
ones.
Indiana Jones
gaping
is
hole.
like that because I think isn't that Paramount? Does it start with a big mountain that dissolved? I think so.
That's. Yeah, I will have to. I forgot about that. I might have to. I'm gonna have to see.
But either way, that's what makes it. That's what makes YouTube good for Switch more than just watching your awesome, YouTube videos and stuff like that. Is you can finally watch some movies on your Switch. Thanks
Yeah,
to
the fact that
movies anywhere. Thing.
That is a big deal. Just having any app, any one app that is connected to Movies Anywhere available on your Switch kind of opens that door. So that was a big deal for me too.
I watched The Empire Strikes Back on Nintendo Switch. Finally.
Wow.
I watched the second half of Clash of the Titans, and I watched The Dark Crystal, which I hadn't seen since like theaters when I was a kid.
Sexy Skeksis.
That movie, if you guys remember, that movie was the Jim Henson Frank Oz movie, and it still to this day looks pretty friggin' good. Like, everything is puppets. Everything, like every scene, every shot is filled with little moving furry things everywhere.
Should we touch on that before we go?
Yeah, speaking of little moving furry things, we've got to talk about the recent trailer that came out for Detective Pikachu. And I think we've all seen it and possibly been scarred by it. What do you guys think about Detective Pikachu?
I never expected him to sound like Deadpool.
Did you not
he
know
was supposed to
previously?
sound like Danny DeVito. No, I had heard about that, but
he doesn't sound like he does in the game.
Yeah, in the game, he's
he's all gruff.
Yeah, it should have been Danny DeVito or somebody. It should have been an old man who's spent some time smoking.
Yeah.
Like me.
But
I would definitely go day one to hear Momo voice Detective Pikachu.
Pika Pika.
Yeah, totally. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. The look is kind of odd, and it's not very realistic, but trying to be realistic. Somebody had pointed out on Twitter that it puts it into the same kind of movie universe as Howard the Duck and live action Ninja Turtles. Like
that's a great comparison.
With its kind of with the weird creature stuff.
It's sort of an uncanny valley kind of.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, just like the kind of look, like the look that the Ninja Turtles had when they were in their rubber suits, or Howard the Duck. Like it's like that's kind of it fits into that 80s, 90s aesthetic kind of. I'm not a big Pokemon fan. Like I recognized pretty much all the Pokemon that were in it. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. I guess some people had some were freaked out by Mr. Mime in there, and Jigglypuff they didn't necessarily approve.
I think Jigglypuff needed to be a different color, more pink or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like it went bad for them when they changed all the Pokemon around for Sun and Moon and whatever, I think. So
I don't know if this movie is for kids. I can't. It doesn't seem like it's really. It seems almost like it's more for teenagers.
Yeah.
And
the game was like a small kids game. I got it for the wife, and she was like, "Yeah, this is
Detective
very
Pikachu
simplistic." Yeah.
So it's like, and my daughter's in that phase right now where she loves Pikachu. She's got Pikachu shirts and Pikachu
it might be good
stuffed animals and stuff. And I don't know. I'm like, would this be something that's going to have that appeal to the kids?
I think
that'll,
Would it scare?
I don't think so.
I'm worried that it'll scare me.
I'd like it to.
Yeah, get her the game first and see what she thinks.
she's played the game.
Detective Pikachu?
Mhm, the demo.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay.
But the thing is, she's at this age right now where she's just now kind of learning to read, but she's real lazy about it. So she'll just be like, she'll tell the game like, "Shut up," and just be like slamming that A button, trying to get through all the text, like I do. But it's like she can read it, she just doesn't want to, or she'll be like, "You read it." I'm like, "Just read it." She's like, "No, just skip it then." So it's like, and that's a very text-heavy game and requires like understanding and stuff. But she likes Pikachu as a character. I don't know if this is the best presentation for Pikachu as an introduction for children.
I guess
Cool.
It's better than saying Pika Pika all the time, though.
when I first heard about this movie coming out, I thought this is going to be absolutely horrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
I
I
was
saw
sure it
this-
was Japan only.
Well, that's the other
Awesome.
thing. I've heard multiple people say this is one of those movies you hear about, and you're like, it's not ever really gonna get made. Like,
Yeah.
there's a billion like movies you hear about that are greenlit,
Like the
and then all of a
Tetris
sudden,
movie. And then,
yeah, then they're just like,
They're having
I just heard about something else the other day where they were like, there's currently now no longer plans to make something. I can't
Mega
remember.
Man movie, Super Mario movie.
Super Mario's happening.
I heard
Yeah.
that the Tetris movie is going to be a trilogy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, there's a new Tetris game that is lighting the internet
Somebody
on
has to
fire.
be screwing with you.
Yeah, I've been
And
seeing.
it's not on Switch. I would think no matter what it is, Switch would be able to handle it, but maybe not.
What's this?
Yeah.
What's this Tetris game?
Is it called Tetris Zone, or I forget the name of it? It's been all over the place.
Yeah, I've heard people raving about it.
Well, Nintendo has the stink of failure. Even Tetris, abandoned the 3DS eShop a couple years ago.
Well,
Who
that's
owns it
because they
now?
were putting out a worse version. There's
Tetris
still a version.
Effect.
Tetris Effect, that's it, yeah. Tetris Effect. I've heard people talking about this crazy, like, I can't wait for the embargo to get lifted so I can tell you how amazing this game is. And
it's not coming out on Switch. Yeah. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be amazing 4K graphics for all I know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but it's Tetris. Like, there is no rational explanation for this not coming out on Switch other than Nintendo dropped the ball somewhere.
Well, and one last thing I was talking about 3DS, like how companies would go out of their way to make a 3DS version of a game, even if it wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Switch falls into that category where you can't do that. If you're going to put a game on,
not enough out there to justify it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Well, not even that. You can't put out a game for Switch that's like the 3DS equivalent, because people are going to expect it to be the same game, because you've already put out so many other games that are the same game. So they don't have that to fall back on. Like, this is a worse, lower quality graphics with completely different graphics version for Switch.
Yeah, with a 3DS,
if you put out a game, you expect it to look the same.
Exactly. On the 3DS, when the game was the same or comparable, that was the surprise, right? You expected that the 3DS version of whatever Metal Gear or whatever was going to be like a side scroller or something. That was just the expectation. But with the Switch, the expectation is Doom.
Yeah, basically. You can't put Elder Scrolls on Switch and have it look like X versus Sever for GBA. Which is a first-person shooter that looked horrible.
Oh, that's a first-person shooter, huh?
Yeah. Well,
I think I passed on that in my collection because I'm like, oh, that's a shitty movie game that I don't care about. Now
I think the game actually came out maybe before the movie. I think the movie might have been based on the game. I don't know. I could be wrong. I know I had it and didn't care for it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's all on board for Detective Pikachu in the theater?
The movie?
In the theater? No. It's on Netflix. I'll watch it.
I'll be dragging the wife. I don't know that we'll take the child because the child's not really old enough yet.
Yeah.
She'll just randomly shout in the movie theater, and people won't like that. But honestly, I'll probably wait for video. But the wife and I'll see that. I'm
assuming it doesn't have a rating yet. You think it's going to be PG or PG-13?
It might be 13.
Yeah.
You're kidding, right?
No.
I don't know.
No.
It's not. By the way, it's not coming out
There's
until
no way.
May of next year. So
Oh, if it's coming out in the summer, there's a possibility I might see that as a double feature at the drive-in. So that's a.
yeah.
I went from a no way to a maybe. I don't know that I would pay. Maybe
I'm just
at a,
jealous of your drive-in.
Yes. I miss ours so much.
I haven't
It's-
had one around me in 20 years.
It's a good way to see a good movie and then a not so good movie for free. Outside too,
Yeah.
so it's kind of nice.
Mm.
Unless it's raining, and then it's a problem.
But yeah, I don't think I don't know what rating they're going for on it. I can't tell yet. If
I'm waiting on him to swear.
you would think Pokemon they're going for kids, but I don't know that that's true.
No.
Although it is scheduled to be released in Real D 3D, so you'll be able to have Pikachu in your lab. Which also I
That
almost feel like
would get me in the theater.
yeah.
I don't want to see
think about the 3D thing. I need to see that in 3D. Yeah, that would get me in the theater.
But
Not
there's
just
probably
on-
plenty of Pokemon that we don't even know yet that are in the movie. I know
That's
there's Charizard and
Well, they've showed
Bulbasaurs.
the original 151, but they also had Greninja, which is the later
Yeah.
Pokemon. So it'll be a variety.
Does anyone feel like this is going to go the way of the Super Mario Brothers movie?
I don't feel like it is in that
Yeah.
same space. I think
No.
it seems like the lead actor they got seemed Justice Smith seemed fine.
Yeah.
It seems like they're trying to walk a thin line that they might be able to pull off.
I don't think so. I think Howard the Duck is what we're going to get.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's
Howard the
actually-
Duck's better than Mario Brothers.
That's true.
No, true. I mean, admittedly, I kind of liked Howard the Duck as a kid.
yeah, I did
as
too.
A kid.
I liked it as a kid.
I know a lot
Like-
of people that liked it.
I'd probably like
Yeah,
it now.
As an adult, going, I don't do it,
I'm on
man.
board for
You'll
Leah
ruin it.
Thompson. Oh,
Oh yeah, no, she was hot. Yeah,
and
no,
duck
totally.
boobs.
The duck boobs scene, yeah, really kind of makes that movie.
That's probably the whole reason furries exist today. But
We need to close out here right now. This is getting into strange territory.
Jason's getting a little hot on the
blame-
collar.
blame George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
I will gladly flame those two.
Innovators ahead of their time.
Starting a whole new
All right.
genre.
Right, so Detective Pikachu, it's a thing.
And of course, if you want to let us know what you think about Detective Pikachu, is this the Pokemon you've been looking for? Let us know. As always, you can hit us up on Twitter at NOA_podcast. And you can also drop us a comment right here on YouTube. So, as always, thanks for watching, and be sure and check us out on Stitcher, iTunes, right here on YouTube, and of course, now streaming live on Twitch. If you don't want to wait till Thursday, watch us Tuesday night as we record. All right, thanks for watching, and have a good night.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Party on, folks.